Have you ever stopped to consider what absolute nothingness would be? Not the everyday nothing, like nothing in the fridge or nothing happened. I'm talking about absolute nothingness. Total absence. No space. No time. No laws. No potentials. No consciousness. Not even the possibility of something arising. It's like erasing everything, even the idea of erasing. It's such a radical concept that, in truth, it makes no sense. Because to think about absolute nothingness, you already need something. A mind, a language, a context. Even to say nothing exists, you need a wherefore that nothing to reside. A stage. A setting. A canvas. Have you ever caught yourself wondering? Why is there something rather than nothing? Yeah, I've spent hours gnawing on that question too. But today I see, it arises from a mistake. A deep, hidden mistake buried in the foundations of how we think. We unconsciously assume, without even noticing, that absolute nothingness would be the natural state of things. As if the universe, life, consciousness, all of it were an aberration, an exception demanding a grand explanation. And so we chase mystical, divine, cosmic answers, as if trying to justify a miracle. But what if we've been looking at everything upside down? What if nothing, this so-called absolute nothingness, isn't even possible? What if it's just an abstraction, a beautiful but empty idea? Because look, the reality we live in didn't sprout from inert emptiness. It emerged from a canvas. Yes, a canvas. Like in a painting. A silent stage, yet absolutely necessary. In modern physics, we call this the quantum vacuum. And note how misleading that name is. Vacuum suggests emptiness, right? But it's not. It's a pulsating field, full of potential, governed by laws. It's the fabric of spacetime. It's the foundation upon which everything, even the idea of nothing, can be conceived. This canvas doesn't need a painter. It might be eternal. It might be necessary. It might simply be, without cause, because it's what makes causality possible. It's within it that matter, energy, time, everything emerges, like small waves growing, fluctuations becoming stars, galaxies, you, me. Without this foundation, not even the idea of nothing would make sense. Think carefully. To say nothing exists, you still need a wherefore that nothing to be. A setting. A stage. In other words, even nothing needs the canvas to exist as a concept. So when we say the universe emerged from the quantum vacuum, we're not saying it came from nothing. We're saying it came from something more fundamental, but still real. Active. Alive, in a certain sense. And so the question changes. Suddenly, it's no longer why is there something rather than nothing? The right question is, why does this canvas have these specific properties? Why does it allow this universe, with its laws, constants, beauty, and chaos? Because the universe isn't an accident to be explained, it's evidence. Proof that absolute nothingness was never an option. It never existed. It never could exist. There has always been, and always will be, at least the canvas. We are the universe marveling at itself. Questioning itself. This text was born as my deep, careful, and hopefully elegant response to perhaps the oldest, most persistent, and most malformed question in Western philosophy. Why is there something rather than nothing? But I didn't just want to offer an alternative explanation. I wanted to dissolve the question itself. I show that it stems from a hidden, mistaken, and most seriously, logically unsustainable assumption. The idea that absolute nothingness would be the natural, neutral, or expected state of reality, and that something would be an anomaly demanding an extraordinary explanation. I refute the notion that absolute nothingness is a real or plausible possibility. If it were even possible, no question, no universe, and no consciousness could arise to contemplate it. I demonstrate that absolute nothingness is, in fact, a logical contradiction. To be thought of, it already requires something: a mind, language, reference frame, structure. Therefore, it's not a possible state of reality, it's a malformed abstraction. My implicit conclusion? If the universe exists, and it does, then absolute nothingness never existed and perhaps cannot exist at all. I replace nothing with a minimal ontological substrate, the canvas. Drawing on modern physics, I propose that the quantum vacuum, or something analogous, is this minimal ground of existence. It's not nothing, but rather an active field, governed by laws, teeming with creative potential. This dismantles, at its root, the theistic argument that something cannot come from nothing, therefore a deity is required. The universe didn't come from nothing, it came from the canvas. And the canvas is enough. I directly challenge the necessity of a creator or external cause. This canvas doesn't cry out for a painter. I argue that the canvas may be eternal, necessary, or self-explanatory, exactly as theists attribute to a deity. But here's a step further: even a deity would need a canvas to exist. Without a substrate, not even the divine could be conceived. All deities begin somewhere. My hypothesis is simpler, more parsimonious, and more coherent with science. It dismantles cosmological and contingency arguments, because I show that the very basis of reality can be the cause, without needing to be personal, conscious, or divine. I reformulate the central metaphysical question, and this may be my most original contribution. The right question isn't why is there something rather than nothing. It's why does the canvas have the specific properties that allow this particular universe to be painted? I don't deny mystery, I redirect it. From a metaphysical dead end, why is there something? To a scientifically and philosophically productive question, why does this something have these properties? I open the way for physical, cosmological, mathematical explanations, not theological ones. I transform the existence of the universe from a problem into evidence. The universe's existence is evidence, proof that absolute nothingness was never a real option. I invert common logic. Instead of seeing the universe as something that needs explanation because it shouldn't exist, I see it as confirmation that absolute nothingness is impossible. This is mature naturalism. I accept what is given, the universe exists, and seek to understand its properties, without appealing to the supernatural, miracles, or deities. But there's something even more beautiful in all this, and perhaps more revolutionary than it first appears. If this canvas, this quantum vacuum, this pulsating fabric of reality, is the origin of everything, the fundamental substrate of reality present in everything, it is here. Now. Inside you. Outside you. Between atoms. In the empty space between stars. In the silence between thoughts. It's not a distant background, it's the ever-present ground. The stage wasn't dismantled after the play began. It's still here. Sustaining every scene. Every particle. Every breath. And do you know what that means? We can touch the canvas. We can study it, measure it, test it, and interact with it. This isn't speculation. It's science. In the lab, when we create the deepest possible vacuum, removing all matter, all radiation, what do we find? Not nothing. We find fluctuations. Particles appearing and disappearing. Fields vibrating. Energy that never vanishes, the famous zero-point energy. It's the quantum vacuum in action. The canvas revealing itself. Effects like the Casimir Effect, where two metal plates in a vacuum are pushed together by quantum forces, show that the vacuum exerts pressure. It acts. It exists, not as an abstraction, but as an active physical entity. Even particle decay, the creation of particle-antiparticle pairs, the behavior of the Higgs field, all emerge from the fabric of the vacuum. In other words, if the canvas is the origin of everything, it isn't hidden in some before the Big Bang. It's here, silently operating in every centimeter of the universe, including inside your body, right now. And that completely changes our relationship with reality. We don't need to appeal to the invisible, the intangible, the supernatural. The deepest explanation, the foundation of everything, is within reach of our science. We can run experiments. We can predict outcomes. We can refine theories. The canvas isn't an inaccessible mystery, it's an open laboratory. And this again dismantles any attempt to insert deities as necessary explanations. Because if the origin is here, testable, observable, reproducible, then we don't need external, non-physical, unverifiable hypotheses. Do deities begin where science ends? No. Deities begin where imagination tires. But science, it continues. It looks at the vacuum and sees activity. It looks at nothing and finds potential. It looks at silence and hears the quantum hum of existence. So when someone asks, but what caused the vacuum? What's behind the canvas? The most honest and most beautiful answer is, perhaps nothing needs to be behind. Perhaps the canvas is the ultimate ground. And perhaps it's slowly revealing itself at the tip of our instruments. Why am I saying all this? Because I'm tired of seeing this question, why is there something rather than nothing? Used as a springboard for dogmatic, theological, or mystical answers. I wanted to show that the question itself is the problem and that by dissolving it, we open space for better, more beautiful, deeper, and more human questions. We're not lost in a universe without explanation. We're immersed in the explanation itself and slowly learning to read it. The quantum vacuum is this canvas. It's not distant. It's intimate. It's in every atom, every field, every experiment. Without it, nothing. Not the universe, not the question, not you reading this, could exist. And if the canvas has always been here? Perhaps the only thing we need to do is learn to admire the painting. And if one day we fully understand its properties, why it vibrates this way, why it permits this universe, why it generates matter and consciousness, perhaps we'll discover that the answer to why is there something was here all along. We just needed to learn to see the canvas. Without the canvas, nothing could be painted. Gabriel Hoffman Bueno. Thank you, and until next time.